Welcome to another edition of the Product Diaries with AWH. Today we are speaking on the theme of when physical health and digital software meet. For those who don't know me, my name is Lucas Latour and my official title is Product Evangelist at AWH, which basically just means I do business development, a lot of community events such as this, and also work alongside our product team. AWH is a software development company. We do custom software. You can kind of think of us as a SWAT team of product experts that you can just drop in and we can help you with anything at any time. And actually this year we are celebrating our 25th anniversary of being in business. I have not been around that long, but AWH has and has a lot of great experienced people who can help you build your product. So check us out if you have needs in that area. Today, our guest is here with us, Mr. Ryan Eder. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So Ryan, why don't you start by telling us a little bit of background on you and sort of how you got involved with IncludeHealth?
Sure. So my background's in design, product design. So I'm Ohio born and raised, grew up in the Cincy area, and went to school at the University of Cincinnati to study industrial design or product design. And actually that is where IncludeHealth started. So back in 2006 was my senior thesis. And the way I describe this is that IncludeHealth has always been focused on lowering the barriers of keeping people active and healthy. And it started through a very myopic lens of seeing a man in a wheelchair relentlessly struggle while exercising. So for my senior thesis, I originally came up with a concept for a piece of physically accessible fitness equipment that could accommodate basically people of all ages and abilities. And that concept ended up winning Gold Best in Show and People's Choice and the International Design Excellence Awards a year later, and kind of put me on this path of being able to push this idea further. Over the years, the idea expanded while still focusing on that key point of lowering barriers. So we got into software when we started to tackling some cognitive barriers, and then we started to look at administrative barriers, and it's kind of how we got into healthcare. And then as you continue to expand it, now you're dealing with logistical barriers and proximity barriers due to the pandemic and how technology can play a role, all rolling together again of just making it easier to keep people active and healthy.
That's awesome. And so for people who don't know exactly what IncludeHealth does, what is sort of the quick overview of IncludeHealth?
Sure. So we are a company that's leveraging a collection of technologies, again, to make it easier to keep people active and healthy. The collection of technologies, we have a cloud-based HIPAA-compliant software that enables us to create digital programming for people. And then we have technology that enables us to have essentially connected equipment to send those digital programs to pieces of equipment, exercise and rehab equipment, guide people through, give them real-time feedback, collect information on their performance, and send it back up to the cloud for review, whether it's compliance, outcomes over time. And so we got our start by creating our own fully digitized and inclusive functional trainer that we call Include Strength. We later expanded into sensors that we could digitize any third-party piece of equipment that we call Include Connect. And then through a partnership we announced a year ago with Cincinnati Children's, we're getting into another category called Connected Movement, which is no equipment at all.
You talked a little bit about how this evolved, and I guess it started as equipment. How did this sort of evolve over time? Like, when did you start to add these technologies together?
So if you give a little timeline here, the original awards happened in 2007. So I designed the initial machine, no software, no tech, anything like that, just a physical machine in 2006. But I moonlit Include, and it was like a night and hobbies thing for several years. In fact, it wasn't until 2013 that we built the first machine that people could interact with that still had no software. And so we took it on a tour, and we built like a mobile showroom. We took it on a tour and went to different hospital systems and organizations and kind of demoed it. And kind of midway through the tour, I saw that people of various abilities were able to independently use it. And we solved that physical aspect. But then I started thinking, now that people could use this, how do you know what to do, how much to do, and keep track of things? And that was really just the seed of the software. And so we came back from that tour and we were able to raise the next round of money to start developing the software and making the machine connected. And so that probably happened until 2015 when we had the first connected machine at its kind of entry level, the real basic proof of concept. And we started to talk with and collaborate with practitioners and clinicians. And so we got, physical therapists and physicians and understand the payer landscape, and realizing that not only could software lower the barriers of helping people understand what to do, but it could play a powerful role in delivering, rehab and physical therapy. And so that insight and collaboration expanded the software. What was a piece of equipment with some software became also the software evolved into this digital health platform that was being delivered through that one piece of equipment, but the platform became much bigger. And so we got that out in beginning of 18. And so, big piece of equipment, HIPAA compliant cloud software. It takes a while to develop all this. Got it out in 18, put the machine in orthopedics and neuroscience, pediatrics, long-term care, even the government, the VA, and we started working with the Air Force. And immediately the feedback was all the same. It was like, okay, we love the machine. We love the software. The software is really what drives value of this. And they just go, but for the software to really realize its potential, I'm going to go ahead and need that to live on more than just one piece of equipment. And fair enough, right?
Makes sense.
you look around any floor and you're like, yeah, there's all this equipment, and making equipment is really tough. And so we like, okay, now that we know exactly what we would do to digitize something from the ground up, how about we take that, package it, and can we go and make basically an IoT platform to expand those digital capabilities to other pieces of equipment? And so like one of the first, this was in a year. So in 18, we launched the machine and the software. By a year later, we were piloting Include Connect. And we had the sensors, like our first challenge was like a 20-year-old leg press. And I joked that like it was mechanically sound, it just digitally was stupid. Right. And so like, we're like, okay, well, we can take the 16 PCB boards and the communication protocols that the machine had, and we distilled it all the way down to a single handheld sensor. And so we can put that sensor on any of these machines, and then we pair that to a tablet that gives the feedback that the dial originally provided on the Include Strength, but now tablet has a lot more capabilities than just the homemade dial, essentially. So that unlocked basically being able to digitize any machine, strength, cardio, free weights, plate loaded, whatever it may be, and really unlocked kind of the next evolution of the platform.
So when you talk about the platform and Include Cloud, like what all is involved on that side of it?
So it's really pretty straightforward, where like the workflow is really comes down to like 4 steps. And so, we have accounts for clinicians as well as patients. We call them professionals and clients simply because we're used in a lot of different sectors of care or just health and wellness. And so like a professional will have their account and they'll create their digital programs really in a matter of seconds. And then they assign them to that client's profile, and that client will go up to any of the connected equipment and they log in with like an RFID tag, and it pulls up that profile. So it tells them exactly, what the professional prescribed for them. Tell them details on machine settings, how much weight to use, and you get all ready, and then it gives you real-time feedback. So you're doing anything, it'll just, it give you the feedback of here's how many reps you're doing, and here's your range of motion. And, we're able to integrate heart rate data through wearables. And so you can program those goals as well and get that real time. And so it really kind of makes just like your experience of, doing equipment-based training tangible, and you can really start to collect all this data. So while we're doing just, hi, here are your reps, here's your range of motion, some basic level metrics, in the background, we're passively recording all this other data about your individual performance. And then that gets sent back up to the cloud. And so when you're done with your session, you get a report immediately of how you did versus what was prescribed for you. But then both the professional and the client can go back to the cloud and log in and see not just that one session, but your progress over time. So being able to see, your force output, your power output, velocity, some of these detailed metrics, or just, basically it's like, okay, here's how many sessions you've had over the last month, here's how you're trending, and just making it a lot more tangible for people to understand their progression.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I can only imagine the journey that it has been to get to the point where you have all of this functionality and yeah, yeah. And when did you say it started? 2013?
So, well, technically, I mean, my thesis was 2006.
Wow.
Yeah. So right. So we built the first machine in 2013, and it's interesting of like through that time, obviously, like, the blow up of at-home connected fitness all the way up to this year, right? Like it's just what it was. And when Peloton first coming out and understanding what they were doing and how does that apply to what we're doing? Is this good? Is this bad? Right? All those kind of things. And as this space continues to evolve and the landscape evolves, and then all of a sudden in comes a global pandemic and how that shakes everything up, right? It's
Yeah.
been a crazy journey. We've been very fortunate that we've had fantastic partners. We've had amazing collection of technologies to not only stay relevant, but to increase our relevancy and expand our technology to really address a lot of these issues.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of wanted to ask about sort of on that journey, like how did you manage the like uncertainty around building a new digital product with, especially with all the different possibilities and things you could do?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like designing any, whether it's a physical or a digital product, right? It's when you're creating something from scratch, it's really tough to understand what to do, how to prioritize it, how to get the right team together, all of that. So, we've been very fortunate that throughout the years, we've had great partners. Like on the machine side, we worked with Priority Designs in Columbus. I used to work there. And so they were able to do really the mechanical, physical side of things and some of the embedded software on the machine, actually most of the embedded software on the machine. Then, on the other side, that's where we linked up with AWH to saying, hey, we want to expand this hardware into an integrated platform with software really driving it. And with design background, it always comes in like you're always thinking about what the customer experience is first. So whether you're designing a physical experience or a digital experience, you have the tools to start creating those walkthroughs, but that's only a fraction of it, right? So you got to start really understanding, okay, what do you need from an infrastructure standpoint? What are the engineers and the talent to actually build this? All the role permissions and layers, and then HIPAA compliance and all this. And so, I mean, it's a major lift to do all that from scratch. And so that's why it takes the amount of time it took. That's why it took the amount of money it took, right? But once you have that foundation of the tech, the partners, the infrastructure and all, you then can expand very rapidly. And that's why we were able to go from a single machine platform to a multi-machine platform to now going to being able to go beyond machines, right? So it's really all that heavy lift up front set us up to be able to rapidly expand.
Yeah, and sort of on the theme of rapid expansion, what is sort of the market, like who's the customer, who's the user, and all that kind of stuff?
So it's interesting when you are essentially lowering the barriers of delivering personalized and measured exercise. There's a lot of applications. Now, we are focused on being medically driven and integrated into the health system. So we think that's just a tremendous need. And so, we initially take our technology to providers, health systems, private practice PT, orthopedics groups, a variety of folks like that can use this technology and really, usher in the next generation of care. But it always, I mean, it started, seeing a guy at a gym, right? So we have some community centers that offer this. We're talking to different, commercial fitness organizations. There's a lot of different applications you can do. And then as this technology expands, of course, everyone right now is talking about, how do you deliver these services in people's homes and what does that look like, right? So that's the great opportunity and challenge with the technology is that it can be applied in so many different ways, and making sure you understand kind of where is it needed the most, where can it create the most value, and making sure you solve that first and then expanding it.
Does that really come into play when you're creating the product? But you do have so many different market segments and things you could potentially go after. I guess how did you sort of think about that as you were building this out?
Deep dives into all of them to understand the dynamics. And what got us the most excited was that they're all using the system in the same way, just under a different context. So we're in all these different sectors of care, but they all use the exact same features in the same way, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is get someone's health from point A to point B. And so everyone has a different point A and everyone has a different point B, but they're using technology to help drive efficiencies and efficacy of that delivery. And so whether that is, grandma rehabbing from a total hip, whether that is, a star athlete just had an ACL injury, right, and recovering from that, or someone just on their own personal, fitness journey, a lot of it all has the same collection of movements. It is just about the variety, intensity, and accuracy of the delivery of that. And so that all that work lets us say, this is this one system that can navigate all these different sectors and not have to be a unique product for orthopedics versus neuroscience versus somewhere else. But from a business standpoint, beyond product development, of course, it's like where you deploy your resources to really deploy this technology and operate this technology beyond just the product development side.
Would you tell us a little bit more about the patient experience versus the provider experience with the platform, and how those two things compare and contrast?
It's interesting because we spend a lot of time making them really similar. Because I think a lot of people will put technology in the provider hands and not worry so much about experience and just worry about raw functionality. And I always joke that and it's true. It's like you can have all the tech in the world, but if it's not delivered in a simple, meaningful, and intuitive way, an engaging way, it's moot. So, I think a lot of companies fall short where they put technology in providers' hands and they don't really worry about the experience. They just worry about the raw functionality and they don't want to use it, right? So we really said, okay, how do we make sure that this interface feels consumer-centric, regardless if your consumer is a patient or provider, right? It's all about that experience and creating the nice UIs and UX to navigate it. So when you open it up from a provider portal or from a patient portal, they look almost identical. Simply, there are just sections that are available that make sense for one versus the other, and data that's available to one or the other. But both sides have the ability to create their own programs. Both sides have the ability to go and receive those digital programs and review the data post. But if I'm a provider, I'm gonna have the ability to manage multiple patients, review data for multiple patients, right? And if it's just me, then I'm just looking at my data. And so it's really the same kind of thing, as we wanted to make it to where that experience was almost the same throughout, just if you're working with yourself or working with many people.
Gotcha. And we kind of touched on it a little bit actually in the last question, but I just want to make sure I understand. So the customer versus user, and I know there's a bunch of different sort of markets, but do you primarily think of the provider as the customer?
Yes. Yeah, okay. We're provider centric. Yeah, so we are about really offering digital tools for the provider, and then digitizing their floor, their services, and then expanding their services beyond.
So what is sort of the long-term product vision?
I want to be able to deliver personalized, measured care at the right time, at the right place. And so, I believe that technology can help us navigate all the barriers that we have in care delivery. And again, whether that's physical, cognitive, administrative, or logistical. And so being able to help ensure I get the right care wherever I am along my journey, and all coming back to one location that is integrated. And so that's really our vision, and ultimately lowering all the barriers to keeping people active and healthy. And once you do that, you kind of unlock the holy grail. And so it's a little different when you think of some of the other technologies out there that, a lot of companies, like on the consumer side of rightfully so, focusing on people's homes, right? Requiring the purchase of specific hardware to do that, but also in specific software. But then really like they're not medically driven, right? They're all just, more consumer generalized fitness classes. They also aren't personalized. They do a great job of making it feel personalized, because if I wanted to go get a 15-minute ride that was high intensity with this trainer that was to 2000s rock, I could,
Yeah.
right? Which is great. So like the experience and all that's great, but imagine being able to have it personalized to you from a real person on the other end, and being medically driven to impact the other 80% of the world that isn't intrinsically motivated to stay active, right? And it's really powerful.
Yeah, and just to on that, the personalization side of it, like you can schedule a workout class online, but are they offering the alterations and the custom things that you might need for your personal needs, which I
Right.
think is a really great thing that Include Health is helping with.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking like, okay, hey, Ryan, I know that, you hurt your knee and you cut the grass this weekend, so you're more sore. So I'm going to change your range of motion to adjust accordingly. And that's going to be your target for this. Like that level of personalization that is then medically integrated, like that's a big opportunity.
It sounds like you're well on your way to that rapid expansion and really achieving that mission. So we're really excited to be working together, and thank you for sharing a bit of insights on when digital software and physical health meet. So this wraps up today's Product Diaries. If you want to contact AWH, you can hit us up at awh.net and check out Include Health at includehealth.com. Thank you so much, Ryan, and have a good one.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me. Likewise.
All right. Take care.